My name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. And today we are going to do a quick get ready with me, and we're talking about some new makeup products today. So testing out some new things, got a variety of different things that are new to me and new releases. So we'll go through that, and then I'll meet you back here. We'll go over my thoughts and a few extra swatches. Thanks. All right, so on my skin so far, I have the Surratt Perfectioniste Primer, and that just went right over my sunscreen. Now it feels dry to the touch, and I'm going to add the Clé de Peau Radiant Corrector for Eyes. I have to say, usually these click pen styles, they are kind of a pain to use because, you click it and you wait for a while for the product to come out. But with the Clé de Peau one, the product really comes up like right away. You don't have to wait. And mine's got to be getting close to running out, and I'm still not having issues getting the product to come out. So I have to say that the packaging on this one is really, really nice. Now for me, I use shade Ivory, which is the lightest, and I personally like to put it on underneath foundation because although the color technically works for my skin, for under eye brightening, I like it to be a little bit lighter, and this doesn't, it's not light enough for that, if that makes sense. So I thought today we would go and play with one of the powder foundations. This is the Shiseido Skin Self-Refreshing Custom Finish Powder Foundation. I have shade 110 in Alabaster, and it comes with a sponge. And one of the great things about this is you can use it wet or dry. So you can see you've got the little vent here, so that way if your sponge is damp, it is drying out. And I forget, I think the black side, if you dampen that, it turns into like a cream to powder foundation, which I do it that way quite a bit. And then the white side you can go on regularly with the foundation. I'm gonna try it with a brush today. I do usually use a sponge with this one, and oftentimes I do use it wet, but I want to go in and see how it performs as a powder because I haven't done that in quite a while. So I'm going to take this Ray Morris Kabuki brush, and this is the first time I've used this. See, it's got a magnet here, so it can stick. This is a magnetic frame. You can see it sticks right there. I think it is awesome. But we're going to go ahead. You can see how much of the product comes up. Just tapping a little bit of that off. So I had a zit here that I popped, and now I've got a little scab. So it's not really going away as quickly as I would like, but yeah, not getting a ton of coverage with the powder this way. This brush is very dense. It's pretty dense for a kabuki brush, so I don't think it's the brush. All right. So I think that's good for the powder, but I do want to cover this a little bit. So I'm going to take one of the Jones Road pencils. This is the face pencil in shade 2. And I'm just going to put a little bit of that right on top. Looks a little cakey there then. So I'm taking this is actually a lip brush, but it's the Chikuhodo AF8. Just going to get a little bit of powder on this and put it right on top. See if that helps. Not really, but it's good enough for me. So we're gonna leave it at that for now. Yeah, unfortunately I have a scar right here on my lip. So now it looks like more uneven than usual, but oh well. Now I want to test out a new blush that I picked up. It's actually a discontinued blush, and Saks has some of these available still. This is from By Terry, and this is number 2 Flash Fiesta. So these come, this is like heavy duty metal compact. It comes with a little, oops, sorry, that was a plastic sheet. And it comes with a little brush. This is Flash Fiesta. Number 1, Platonic Blonde is one of my favorites, and Nude Dance is another one I really love. And I thought this color like screamed summer, so I went to pick that up. And they are available right now at Saks still, you know, what's left. I think there are 4 or 5 shades, and they're discounted. So I'm actually considering picking up more. It's just, there have been so many blushes recently. I'm trying to be good. All right, so I'm taking this brush. This is from Shiseido. It is their cheek brush. I forget what the line is. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, but this is Flash Fiesta. All right, so it's just a little heavy on this side, so I'm not adding anything to the kabuki, but I'm just gonna kind of blend that a little bit. Just blend both sides a touch. All right, and I think I just need a touch more on this side, so just got a tiny little bit. Now, I don't know why By Terry discontinued these blushes, because I really think they are some of the best blushes out there. Even with all these new ones that have been coming out, they're still one of my favorites. And unfortunately, I didn't find them till last year. So yeah, it's a shame. Maybe they were just too expensive. They are a very expensive blush, but now they have like these like duo things, which is, I think it's like blush and contour, but I'm not really gonna use the contour shades. So I prefer having just the blush by itself. But here's Flash Fiesta, and it's a really nice coral, and it actually reminds me a lot of the Hermes Coral Aqua lipstick. Let me just compare those. So here's Coral Aqua. Let's see what that looks like in comparison. See, I feel like the tones are very similar. Obviously, you got lipstick versus blush, but the amount of pink versus orange in these seems pretty similar. All right, so we're gonna stop there on the face for now. This is the Hourglass Eye Primer. We're going to put some of this on, and you can see that it has a creamy texture. And I actually have a little bit too much on my ring finger, so I'm spreading it out. You can see how much I have left here. Just spread it out with my pinky so I don't have too much, because you might think more primer helps, but actually too much primer can make it worse. So let's go ahead, and we are going to be looking at the Hourglass shadows today. So a little bit about the Hourglass shadows. They are incredibly expensive, and I have to say that I was not intending on purchasing them because I did think that they were overpriced. However, there was a 30% off code that I can't seem to find anymore, but I got them 30% off. So I do have some shades here to try. This is the packaging. This is made out of plastic and tin so that it's recyclable. And that's what Hourglass is claiming, the reason that they did this. But, you know, mirrors are not recyclable. So if it was truly 100% recyclable, they wouldn't have had the mirror. They would have done something else like the mirrored metal or something like that. So I don't know. I don't really buy that reason. I also don't really appreciate having all of this wasted space here. You know, I'd rather have everything more compact. And I have to say, when I ordered these, I had no idea how small they were. These are, I want to say they're like a gram, you know, so let me show you how these clip in. All right, so this is the actual top of it. You see that little indent there? And there's an indent on the bottom. So yes, these are 1 gram or 0.03 ounces. They are made in France. And then this palette here, you've got little clips for it to snap in. So what you do is you stick it in the palette like this, and then you're supposed to just be able to press down on this H. I find that it's better if you press down on both ends, and then it just snaps in. Now, you can remove these, but I don't find it, you know, like it's not hard to remove, but it's not easy like if it were magnetic. So I find that a little bit of a drawback because I forget what colors they are and I want to take them out and look, but I kind of have to pry it open, and I almost always get my finger in the shadow. So I think packaging on this is okay. It's not great. But I don't really buy their claims as to why it is plastic and tin. Now, that being said, the actual palette, you can buy like a little single palette, you can buy a trio, or you can buy the 5-pan, which is this one. And I want to say they range from like $4 to $16 or something for just the case. And then each of the shadows individually, they come packaged like this in a little box. These are $29 each. And I have to say, as soon as I opened them, I just kept saying, wow, those are small. But I did decide I want to try them. Now, just a little bit about me with Hourglass. I am not a huge Hourglass fan. I also know that there are a ton of diversity and inclusivity issues going on with Hourglass. I wanted to see how these shadows performed, and I was hoping that perhaps, this would be the next step in the right direction. But I honestly, I don't really buy much Hourglass, and I don't really have much Hourglass. Most of the items I have from Hourglass I haven't really liked, but I do really like the Scattered Lights eyeshadows. That's probably about, that's really the only thing that I have and really enjoy from Hourglass. But these shadows are nice. They are nice shadows. So let's go ahead, put some of these on. I do have a couple extra looks. I'll put those at the very end of the video for those of you who are interested. And I have been testing these, so I have some wear notes on that as well. We're gonna go through that, but first we're gonna start off with the shade Air, which is a matte, and that's this one here. Let me just swatch that for you. So you can see the Air matte shade. And I would have to say the matte shades, they're ordinary. There's nothing particularly special or unique about the matte shade, in my opinion. This is the only one I have, so I don't have other mattes to compare it to, but I don't notice anything particularly special about this shade. So I'm taking the Sonia G Blender Pro, and I'm just gonna get some of that in there. You can see that it is a little powdery. So just something to note in particular about the matte shades. And again, I have the Hourglass Veil Eye Primer on right now, just putting this in the crease and buffing up. And whatever's left is just going on the lid, kind of to set the primer. Next, I do want a little bit of color in the crease. So we're gonna go into this gray shade here, which is called Ash. My mistake. This one is Pax, this one is Ash. So we're gonna go into Pax, which is a gray metallic shade here. I'm gonna put this in the crease just very lightly. And I have worn this one all over my lids with and without primer, and this one does not crease all day on me. However, I can't say that's true of every shade. So I've also tried this teal shade in here, which is called Eve. And that one, when I do not use primer with that one does crease. Even on me, eyeshadows don't crease on me super frequently. I don't have like the oiliest lids or anything, but this shade here, it seems to be shade specific. The other shades I've tested these three and this purple shade on my lids without primer, and those have not creased. So I do think that might be an anomaly, but there may be some other shades out there that have that issue as well. So just something to note. However, when I do put a primer on, I haven't had any creasing issues with any shade. Next, we're moving on to the shade Bid, which is in the middle here. This one is my favorite. I really like this shade. And I'm taking the Sonia G Soft Shader, and I'm gonna put this about halfway over the lid. Now you can use these with fingers or a brush. The brush gives you a slightly softer application, which is what I'm going for today, but I do have some clips that show you finger application at least one time. And now we're gonna go ahead into this purple shade, and this one here is metallic. I'm taking the crease brush here. Now this one, you can see there's no powder dust or anything that comes up with any of these shades I've used except for the matte so far. Just gonna put a little bit of this on the outer corner here. And just kind of spreading that towards bid. Just gonna get a little bit more. And just kind of blending them softly in the midline. All right, so I think I went a little heavier on the other eye, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the Fig shade here. You can see that purple sheen there. And that's it. Now you can see that I did have a little bit of fallout from that. Again, it's because I used a fluffy brush, but there is some fallout with some of these shades. I'm taking the Refer 23. I'm gonna go into this dark blue called Ink. And I'm just twirling the liner brush in here. And we're going to put this on the upper lash line. And then I'm not going to remove what's on there, but I am going to go into Bid, the green shade, and put this on the lower lash line. Just very, very softly. All right, so that's it for the eyeshadow. I'm going to add some mascara. All right, so we're going to go ahead and try the Gucci Brow Pencil in Blonde. This is the new retractable waterproof pencil. And when I used this last, you know, it seemed like mine was supposed to be creamier than it is. So I broke off the tip to see if maybe it was something like a dry pan kind of issue. And let's see how this one goes on. I mean, it's going on fine. It's really not the best shade for me. I think it's a little bit too light. When I was looking, this was the closest one they had to taupe, but I think they have since added another shade to, maybe it was out of stock when I looked. But I think there's a closer one, like a gray blonde or something that is the same as a taupe. But the shades are not the same as that in the powder pencil. So you do have to look a little bit. So I think that did go on better than it did on me last time, or the last couple times, because I've used this for a while now, but I still just don't love it. So for highlight, I'm taking the Laura Mercier highlight. This is the Rose Glow, and I'm using the same blush brush. I just wiped that off. Just gonna put a little bit up there. You can see that's a little bit bright. And then I'm gonna go in with the Refer 23, and I'm just rolling it in there. I did wipe it off. I'm gonna put this on the inner corner. So I really wanted to try this translucent setting powder, but I used a better foundation, so I don't really need this. But we're gonna put a little bit on anyway. I have to say, I have already used this before. This is the new one from Laura Mercier, and this is the shade Celestial Light. This is the lightest shade. I mean, like, it is darker than I expected. This is it. And you can see that there's some shimmer in there, but it's a setting powder. So we're gonna use it as a finishing powder, but you know, as a setting powder, you're putting more makeup on top and everything. So yeah, you can be flexible with the shades. So last time I really buffed the powder into my face. This time I'm going to take a looser, fluffier brush. This is the Giorgio Armani. This is their blush brush actually, but I use it for powder, and you can see it's a floppy brush. So let's see how this goes on. Do you see a difference in this side versus this side? I do see a difference actually. This definitely has a little bit more luminosity to me. And I do think it's blurred a little bit, but I'll buff it in on this side so you can see that a little bit. Okay, so I've got a little bit more. I've got the Sonia G Master Face Brush, and I've got that in here. Made sure there's no extra powder on here. And let's go ahead and we're gonna buff this one in more. Wow, you can see that sheen going on right there. I mean, you could really use this powder more as a highlight even. So what do you think? Which side do you like better? All right, and for lips, we're gonna take a Guerlain Rouge G lipstick. This is in number 66, and I'm gonna put this one on. It's a little bit dark. So first I'm gonna line the lips and make them right, and then I'm gonna blot this. For liner, I'm taking the Lisa Eldridge lip liner in Blush, and just gonna go around the edges. Next, I'm taking my cloth, just blotting that, making that a little bit lighter. And then I still wanna get it a little bit softer than this. I'm gonna add some gloss. So I'm gonna take this Chanel lip gloss in number 722, which I think, I can't remember. It's either Bourgeoisie or Noche Moscata. All right, so it's still a little bit darker than I was wanting to go. Well, you know what? We're gonna wear it like this for a little while, and if I decide I wanna go later, let's just change it. All right, so I hope that was helpful. I did want to swatch the rest of the Hourglass shadows, so let's go ahead and swatch those. So we have Ink, Eve, and Bid, and this was one of the preset trios actually that they have there. And you can see that teal shade actually has more of like a grayish base. You see, I just built it up right there, but it actually does get really teal. Now, when you touch these with your finger, they are, look at that. You can see how buildable the shadows are. I'll just build the upper part here. You can see when they build up, they get really intense and very sparkly. So that is something that is a feature of these Hourglass shadows. So you can be really creative with the looks. You know, if you want to dust them out and make them a little bit more work appropriate, or if you want to, you know, really intensify them. So these are the last two that I have there. So this one is Pax and Ash. See how silvery that one actually is. Just add a little bit more of that there. Okay, and this is the purple fig shade here. And let me show you how that one piles up. And then this last one here is Rye. And look at that, you can see it's brown with gold sparkles in here. And that's how this one goes on. Look at that. All right, so we've got Air, the matte shade there, and that one is not creamy to the touch. It is a true powder shadow. And then we have, this one's Ink, Eve, Bid, Pax, Ash, Fig, and Rye. And you can see here that Fig is going to be more of a reddish purple, more of a plum. And these shades here, you can see that they have cooler tones in them. They're not super cool when you spread them out, like the undertones are neutral, but the overtones are cool. However, Bid is fairly neutral all the way out. You can see that that's gonna be an olive green with yellow tones in it. Then we have Pax, which is really more of a warm pewter silver. So it's warm toned for a silvery shade, but again, the overtones are gonna be cool on that. So overall, it's gonna be a little bit cool. And then we have Ash, which is really more of a deep charcoal, and there are some brownish tones in that one. We have Fig, again, that's gonna be the reddish plum shade. Rye is gonna be a soft, warm, coppery brown with gold sparkle. So out of these shades, none of these feel super powdery or anything to the touch. They actually have a very creamy texture to them, and they are all buildable shades. So you can blend them out and get just a sheer wash of color, or you can pat them on, put them on with a finger, build it up to get something more intense. And that's, I think, one of the benefits of these shadows Overall, I think these are really nice shadows. Do I think that they are worth the $29 per gram? No, unfortunately, they are not. I would not have purchased them if I had paid full price. But I do think they are nice shadows and I will use them. I like them. If you can get them on sale, I think they are a very nice shadow. They look nice on the eyes and they last really well. They're just overpriced at their current price point. And the packaging on them isn't great. I know everybody's kind of talked this to death, so we're not going to dwell on it anymore. But yes, it would have been better if they were magnetic. So let's move on. We also have the blush that was new to me from By Terry. This one is Flash Fiesta, and that's this shade here. It's a really beautiful bright coral shade, and I like it. I love this formula in particular, and I think this color is a great pop for the summer. Again, this is the Hermes Coral Aqua lipstick. You can see that they go very nicely together. Moving on to brows, we revisited the new Gucci brow pencil, the waterproof one that is retractable. And I just think it's okay. I don't plan on purchasing that one again. Moving on to my foundation of the day, I used the Shiseido Synchro Skin Powder Foundation, and I've used this before. I usually use it with a wet sponge, and it turns into a cream to powder, foundation. That's my preference for this. So even putting this on dry, I think the Suku Powder Foundation just performs better dry. So this one is just okay dry. I think it performs nicely wet, and I do like it. The color, it's not a perfect color for me. Let's face it, nobody's really ever going to get a true perfect color match straight from a bottle or straight from a powder compact. This one though, it's like I have a really hard time finding the right match in Shiseido in general, because when I bought the recent liquid in this shade, it's too white and too light. This powder is a little bit too yellow. So let me show you what the powder looks like. Again, this is shade 110 Alabaster. I'm actually just gonna put this here so you can kind of you see those golden tones in there. Again, this is the Hourglass Air shade. And this is the Laura Mercier new setting powder, the Light Catcher in Celestial Light. So you can see that it's a little bit golden. Now, moving on to the Laura Mercier setting powder, I think that this is a nice, I actually prefer it more for a finishing powder than a setting powder because it does have that sparkle. I think it is a nice product. It performs well. I have used this. This is not a first try for me. I've been trying it out for a couple of days now. And I think, it does hold up. I have not had any issues with patchiness or anything. It's performed very nicely. I'm not thrilled with this shade though. It's a little bit darker than I would like. So for me, I think this is better suited as like more of a highlight or, blending it with something else. I personally don't really care for something sparkly as my setting powder. So for me, again, it's more for a finishing powder. And I think buffed specifically over like blush is a really great way to use this powder because it has a little bit of depth to the color. You can see a little bit of color on it. It's not truly translucent in my opinion. So putting it over the blush will turn like a regular blush into something with a little bit more shimmer, more of a highlighting blush. And I think that is beautiful. And that's going to be the way that I use this powder. I do like this powder. If you have slightly darker skin than me, I think that this would be a really nice shade for its intended purpose as well. But for me, I don't love it all over my face, if that makes sense. As for the lipstick, it's not a new lipstick to me. It's one that I'm revisiting. Guerlain Rouge G lipsticks are some of my favorites. Guerlain was apparently, I didn't realize this until Violette FR just became the new creative director, but apparently Guerlain was the first one to create a lipstick. And now that I'm saying that, I think Silver Joe might have told me that before as well. She has a huge Guerlain lipstick collection. She has tons of the cases. Really beautiful. Check her out on Instagram. I'll leave her handle down below in the description box. But You know, I love it. 66 is actually the very first shade of Rouge G lipstick that I ever bought, way before that they had the, you know, removable cases or the reusable cases, when they used to have names. Gracia, I think? No, that's not it. Let me check. Oh, it is Gracia. So this is my very first one. I saved it. But this is the shade Gracia, number 66. From the original Rouge G's. So this one is not going to be in the, you know, that was back when they didn't have the different cases. And this is the new 66. So you can see that they're almost the same. The original is slightly lighter. But I personally love this formula. I love Guerlain lipsticks. I can't wait to see their new ones coming out for the fall, and those beautiful new fall cases as well. So I think that sums up everything that we used. Oh, almost. The Laura Mercier Rose Glow highlighter. I do like this powder. I think it's a really nice highlight, and yeah, you know, really, really nice product. And I think that's everything now. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I would love to know your thoughts on these products and if you've tried any of them, and I'll see you very soon. So if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and have a great day. Bye. The Vizier eye primer on, and we are going to start off with these. This is Pax, and these are Nude Crease 2. We're keeping it simple today, taking the Sonia G soft shader, going back into Pax. Just gonna get a little bit of this and put this on the outer third. You can see that sheen there. Very pretty shade. Wiped off the brush and going into Bid right next to it, the one in the middle. And I'm gonna put this on the rest of the mobile lid. So just going over the edges of Pax. So here we go, Bid and Pax together. Next, taking the Sonia G Pencil 1, and I'm gonna go into Eve, this teal shade. And we're gonna use this for the inner corner and lining. So just really smudging this shade out along the lash line, so I have a little depth there, but it's not that much. And then without removing much on the brush, I'm gonna go into Bid for the lower lash line. And this is it. And I will show you from a distance. And this is the final look from a distance. So I have on the Koh Gen Do Aqua foundation in 012, the Givenchy Prisma Libre blush in 2 Taffetas Rose, or Taffetas Rose, and then the Guerlain Lip Shine in Petal Blush, which is number 229. And the Givenchy number 8 Parma Silhouette lip liner just around the edges for that. And that, oh, almost forgot, the Auric Glow Lashes underneath the foundation. And that's everything. I'm gonna take the Rephr 12. I'm going into Ink, the dark blue. And I don't have any primer or anything on. I'm just gonna dab this here. All right, so next I'm taking this Suku brush. I'm not sure which one this is. I'd have to look it up. It's not labeled, but I'm gonna go into this teal, which I believe is called Eve. So the Suku brush, this is one of the gray squirrel brushes, and I just kind of wanted to see how well these shadows perform with something this soft. You can see that the shadow goes on very nicely. I didn't pick up a ton of pigment the first time. So let's get a little bit more. That's a really pretty shade. So this is the teal shade, and I kind of, went over a little too much of the ink. So I'm actually just gonna go in with this brush and just kind of dab a little bit of it on the outer corner here. And then this is the Soniji Classic Crease. I'm just gonna kind of buff this area. I don't have any shadow on the brush. Right now I wiped off the brush and I'm gonna go into the olive green bid. And I'm just gonna get a little bit of this and I'm gonna put this here right above the crease. And I just picked up the tiniest bit of shadow and just slightly buffing it into that, and then the residue up to the brow. I'm taking the Suku brush into bid and I'm gonna put this on the lower lash line. Just gonna get a little bit more of bid just on the actual flat side of the brush. Add that to the inner corner here. It's not like super brightening, but I kind of like having that shade with it. Plus I don't have a super brightening shade here in this palette. So yeah, I think that's almost good, but I just want to add a touch of the navy on the tip of this brush just for the edges here, the outer corner. Just a very little bit here. So I wiped off the brush and I'm just gonna blend the lower lash line a little bit more. Okay, and I'm curious about using this as a liner. So I dampened this brush, so it's wet now. This is Surratt 03. I'm gonna go into ink. I'm gonna put this on the upper lash line. All right, and this is the final look from a distance. So I have on the Lisa Eldridge blush in Dante's Dream, along with the Auric Glow Lust in Morganite. On my lips, I have the Chanel Rouge à Lèvres Lock in Exigence, which is number 64. And yeah, I think that is all of it. Oh, the base product is the Chanel Sublimage Foundation BR12. I have the Hourglass eye primer on. I'm going into the shade Air, which is a matte shadow with the S33 from Esom. And I'm just gonna get this up and put this in the crease and go up to the brow. Next, I'm taking the Refer 12. I'm gonna go into this deepest shade, which is called Ash. And just gonna get some of this on here and dab this in outer corner. You know what? Actually, I want to put in a little bit more and blend that out. So I'm just going to kind of feather that in a little bit. And I'm taking some of that into the crease. I'm going to take the S33 again and just kind of buff that crease a little bit. Notice that the bristles, I'm not going totally into the crease, I'm going right above it. All right, so I wiped off the Refer 12 and we're gonna go into the middle shade, which is Bid. And I'm going to put some of this on, and then I think I'm gonna go over it with my fingers for part of it as well. So there's Bid with the brush. I actually don't think I need to use my fingers, but I just want to see how it looks with finger application instead of the brush. So just patting some of this on here. So you can see it's definitely more intense with the finger than the brush, but it's fairly close. I'm just going to take the brush here and just kind of blend that a little bit. All right, I need to clean up the crease a little bit, but first I'm going to take a tiny dab of the Air shade, and I'm just going to put this in the inner corner. It's for a little bit of brightening. It's not going to add a ton since it is matte, but it just kind of allows everything to blend a little bit better right there, I think. Okay, and I'm just going to take a touch of Bid again, the olive green, and I'm going to get just a little bit of this and put it on the lower lash line. All right, I'm just going to clean up the crease area a little bit. And then I'm going to add some eyeliner to the upper lash line. And for the upper lash line, I'm taking the Chantecaille eyeliner in Olive Brocade, which is an olive green with gold flecks. Similar to Bid, but this is going to be a little bit darker. So that's it for the eye look up close. I'm going to finish my makeup. I'll see you in a second. And this is the final look from a distance. I added the Le Volume de Chanel mascara. I have on the Sisley Lafido blush in number 4, Golden Rose, which is more of the highlighting blush. And for foundation today, I'm actually using the Jones Road Face Sticks in shades 1, 2, and 3. I have on the Laura Mercier Light Catcher powder, and the lipstick is Highline from Bonn, New York. And I'm using the Jones Road brow pencil in Ash. And lip liner is Pat McGrath Done Undone. And that's everything I have on, and let me know what you think.